The New York Mets, with their aspirations of a deep playoff run, find themselves at a critical juncture. The team's management is acutely aware that they need to strengthen their bullpen significantly. The modern game of baseball often hinges on the effectiveness of the relief pitching, and the Mets' current situation leaves much to be desired. A shaky bullpen can squander leads, extend games unnecessarily, and ultimately derail a team's chances of success. The front office is under immense pressure to address this vulnerability before it becomes an insurmountable obstacle. Before the trade deadline, the clock is ticking and the trade deadline looms large on the horizon. Every day that passes without addressing the bullpen issue is a day closer to potentially missing out on crucial opportunities. The trade deadline represents the last chance for teams to bolster their rosters for the stretch run, and the Mets cannot afford to stand idly by. The pressure is mounting as other teams actively pursue upgrades, and the Mets risk falling further behind in the competitive landscape if they fail to act decisively. The front office is burning the midnight oil, exploring every possible avenue to improve the team's relief pitching core. Brooks Raley's return from the injured list will provide a boost, offering a veteran presence and a reliable arm in the late innings. However, his return alone will not be enough to solve the Mets' bullpen woes. While Raley is a valuable asset, he cannot be expected to shoulder the entire burden of stabilizing the relief pitching. The Mets need to add multiple pieces to truly transform their bullpen into a strength. Relying solely on Raleigh would be a gamble, and the team needs to explore other options to ensure they have sufficient depth and quality in their relief core. To bridge the gap to Edwin Diaz, the Mets are eagerly anticipating the return of their star closer, Edwin Diaz, who is expected to reclaim his role as the dominant force at the back end of the bullpen. However, even with Diaz back in the fold, there remains a critical need for reliable arms to bridge the gap between the starting pitcher and the closer. The 7th and 8th innings are crucial junctures in the game, and the Mets must have pitchers who can consistently hold leads and prevent the opposition from mounting a comeback. Without a strong bridge to Diaz, the Mets risk squandering opportunities and putting unnecessary pressure on their closer. The team needs to identify and acquire pitchers who can thrive in high-leverage situations and provide a seamless transition to Diaz in the 9th inning. In Thursday's doubleheader against Baltimore, the Mets' bullpen deficiencies were glaringly exposed. The Orioles, known for their potent offense and aggressive approach, relentlessly attacked the Mets' relief pitchers, exploiting their weaknesses and capitalizing on their mistakes. The doubleheader served as a stark reminder of the urgent need for improvement in the Mets' bullpen. The team cannot afford to continue trotting out inconsistent and unreliable relievers in crucial situations. The front office must act swiftly to address this vulnerability and prevent further collapses that could jeopardize the team's playoff aspirations. The Orioles exposed this weakness once again. The Orioles' relentless offensive onslaught highlighted the Mets' lack of depth and quality in their bullpen. The Mets' relief pitchers struggled to contain the Orioles' hitters, allowing them to score crucial runs and ultimately swing the momentum of the game. The Orioles' success against the Mets' bullpen served as a wake-up call, underscoring the urgent need for reinforcements. The Mets cannot afford to continue relying on a bullpen that is prone to collapses and unable to consistently hold leads. The front office must prioritize the acquisition of reliable relief pitchers who can withstand the pressure of high-leverage situations and contribute to the team's overall success. Rynestanek, a veteran reliever acquired to provide stability, allowed a 2-run home run to Gunnar Henderson, a rising star in the Orioles lineup. The home run proved to be a pivotal moment in the game, shifting the momentum in favor of the Orioles and ultimately contributing to the Mets' defeat. Stanek's struggles highlighted the inconsistency that has plagued the Mets' bullpen throughout the season. The team needs to find relievers who can consistently execute their pitches and avoid making costly mistakes in crucial situations. The front office must carefully evaluate potential trade targets and prioritize those who have a proven track record of success in high-pressure environments, costing the Mets the game despite a strong start from David Peterson. Peterson delivered a quality start, keeping the Orioles' offense in check for the majority of his outing. However, his efforts were ultimately undermined by the bullpen's inability to hold the lead. This pattern has become all too familiar for the Mets, as strong starting pitching performances have often been wasted due to bullpen meltdowns. The team needs to find a way to bridge the gap between the starters and the closer, ensuring that quality starts are not squandered. The front office must prioritize the acquisition of reliable relief pitchers who can complement the starting rotation and contribute to the team's overall success. While the Orioles took the win, solidifying their position as a contender in the American League, the Mets were left to lament another missed opportunity. The loss exposed the glaring weaknesses in their bullpen and underscored the urgent need for improvement. The Mets cannot afford to continue squandering games due to bullpen collapses. The front office must act decisively to address this vulnerability and prevent further setbacks that could jeopardize the team's playoff aspirations. The team needs to find relievers who can consistently execute their pitches and avoid making costly mistakes in crucial situations. They might also hold the solution to the Mets' problem. The Orioles, with their surplus of talented relievers, could be a potential trade partner for the Mets. Baltimore has a wealth of arms in their bullpen, and they may be willing to part with some of their depth in exchange for valuable assets. The Mets should explore the possibility of acquiring relievers from the Orioles, as this could be a quick and effective way to address their bullpen woes. The front office must engage in serious discussions with the Orioles to determine if a mutually beneficial trade can be reached. Sources say Baltimore is nearly ready to engage in trade discussions, signaling their willingness to listen to offers for several of their relievers. This development could be a boon for the Mets, who are desperately seeking to bolster their bullpen. The Orioles' willingness to trade relievers presents an opportunity for the Mets to acquire much-needed reinforcements and address their most pressing weakness. The front office must act swiftly to capitalize on this opportunity and engage in serious negotiations with the Orioles to discuss trades for several relievers. The Orioles are reportedly open to offers for multiple bullpen arms, indicating a willingness to reshape their relief corps. This could be a strategic move by the Orioles to acquire valuable assets in exchange for players who may not be essential to their long-term plans. The Mets should carefully evaluate the Orioles' available relievers and identify those who would be the best fit for their team. The front office must be prepared to make a compelling offer to entice the Orioles to part with their coveted bullpen arms. They already sent Brian Baker to Tampa Bay, signaling their intention to be active in the trade market. The trade of Baker demonstrates the Orioles' willingness to make moves and reshape their roster. This could be a sign that they are serious about trading other relievers as well. The Mets should take note of the Baker trade and use it as an indication of the Orioles' potential asking price for their other bullpen arms. The front office must be prepared to offer a competitive package to acquire the relievers they desire. For a draft pick. The acquisition of a draft pick in exchange for Baker suggests that the Orioles are prioritizing long-term value and future potential. This could mean that they are seeking similar returns for their other relievers as well. The Mets should be prepared to offer a combination of prospects and draft picks to entice the Orioles to make a deal. The front office must carefully evaluate their farm system and identify the players they are willing to part with in order to acquire the bullpen help they desperately need. Now, pitchers like Andrew Kittredge, a seasoned veteran with a proven track record of success, could be available. Kittredge's experience and reliability would be a valuable addition to the Mets' bullpen. He has a history of pitching in high-leverage situations and consistently delivering results. The Mets should strongly consider pursuing Kittredge, as he could provide the stability and leadership that their bullpen desperately needs. The front office must assess his value and determine if they are willing to meet the Orioles' asking price. Seranthony Dominguez, another talented reliever with a history of closing games, is also rumored to be on the trade block. Dominguez possesses a powerful arm and a fearless mentality, making him a valuable asset in the late innings. The Mets should explore the possibility of acquiring Dominguez, as he could provide them with another option to close out games and solidify their bullpen. The front office must carefully evaluate his performance and determine if he is a good fit for their team. And Gregory Soto, a left-handed power pitcher with a knack for striking out batters, could be available. Soto's ability to neutralize left-handed hitters would be a valuable asset for the Mets, who have struggled against lefties in the past. The Mets should consider pursuing Soto, as he could provide them with a much-needed weapon against left-handed opponents. The front office must assess his command and control and determine if he is a reliable option in high-leverage situations. However, rivals believe closer Felix Bautista, one of the most dominant closers in baseball, will not be traded. Bautista's value is simply too high, and the Orioles are unlikely to part with him unless they receive an overwhelming offer. The Mets should not waste their time pursuing Bautista, as it is highly unlikely that they will be able to acquire him. The front office should focus their efforts on acquiring other relievers who are more readily available. The Yankees, the Mets' crosstown rivals, are also interested in acquiring bullpen help, creating a competitive market for the Orioles relievers. The Yankees' interest could drive up the asking price for the Orioles relievers, making it more difficult for the Mets to acquire them. The Mets must be prepared to compete with the Yankees and other interested teams in order to secure the bullpen help they need. The front office must be aggressive and proactive in their pursuit of relievers, but expect tough negotiations with Baltimore. The Orioles are known for being shrewd negotiators, and they are unlikely to give away their relievers for cheap. The Mets should be prepared for a tough negotiation process and be willing to make concessions in order to acquire the bullpen help they need. The front office must be patient and persistent in their pursuit of relievers. Center fielder Cedric Mullins is another player who could potentially be available, although his availability is less certain than that of the relievers. Mullins is a versatile player with speed, power, and defensive ability. He could provide the Mets with a significant upgrade in center field and add another dimension to their offense. The Mets should explore the possibility of acquiring Mullins, but they should also be aware that the Orioles may be reluctant to part with him. Who could help the Mets upgrade before the deadline? Mullins' all-around skill set would be a valuable addition to the Mets roster, providing them with a boost both offensively and defensively. His speed and defensive prowess would improve their outfield, while his offensive capabilities would add another potent bat to their lineup. The Mets should carefully consider the potential impact of acquiring Mullins and determine if he is worth the cost. As the trade deadline approaches, the pressure is mounting on the Mets to make a move. The clock is ticking, and the team cannot afford to stand idly by while other contenders improve their rosters. The front office must act decisively and aggressively to address the team's weaknesses and bolster their chances of making a deep playoff run. The trade deadline represents a critical juncture for the Mets, and their success or failure in the trade market could ultimately determine their fate. All eyes are on the Mets, as fans and analysts alike eagerly await to see what moves the team will make. The Mets are under intense scrutiny, and their every move is being closely watched. The team's success or failure in the trade market will be heavily scrutinized, and the front office is under immense pressure to make the right decisions. The Mets fans are desperate for a winner, and they are counting on the front office to deliver. To see if they can fix their bullpen, which has been a major source of frustration for the team and its fans. The Mets bullpen has been plagued by inconsistency and ineffectiveness, leading to numerous blown leads and costly losses. The team needs to find reliable relievers who can consistently execute their pitches and avoid making costly mistakes in crucial situations. The front office must prioritize the acquisition of bullpen help in order to turn the team's weakness into a strength and stay in the playoff race. The Mets are currently in contention for a playoff spot, but their hold on a postseason berth is tenuous. The team needs to improve its performance in order to secure a playoff spot and make a deep run in the playoffs. The acquisition of bullpen help would significantly improve the team's chances of success and solidify their position in the playoff race. The front office must act decisively to address the team's weaknesses and bolster their chances of making a deep playoff run.